Well, this is episode 1 of the Giving Back TV podcast. I'm Erin Throckmorton.
I'm Colin Tordale.
And we've actually been talking about this for
a while.
Quite a while. We've talked about doing a podcast, and I know how busy I am. I know how busy you are. And we finally just said, we're going to do it. So today, I drove down to Helena, totally took over your house. We have rearranged their family room to start our podcast here. So thank you for letting me come into your house.
Absolutely. This is fun.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. You know, I've had a lot of people over the years ask why I don't have a podcast or why we don't do a podcast. And I think the biggest thing was just the timing of it. But as we start getting forward, there's so many more people that aren't watching TV.
Right.
But they're driving and they're traveling and they're listening. So we think it's very important to maybe get the giving back message out there via podcast and have other avenues than just the TV show.
Totally agree. And we're also going to be recording this too. So all the people that want to watch versus listen, we'll have it on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think it's going to be powerful. I mean, you and I have known each other for what, probably 7 or 8 years?
Yeah, at least.
Because what a lot of people don't know, we used to work together. I was in the mortgage industry. We worked together, and I had a pretty big midlife crisis back in 2016, and that's when I left corporate world and decided to start giving back TV. Everybody, and probably yourself, thought I was crazy, and I think everybody was right. But it's been a good journey for me, and then we started talking about hunting, and then got to go on your first safari with you.
Yes, that was great. So all those years, we're sitting at your desk, you're telling me about Africa, and I'm like, dreaming, you know. It's like, you're like, oh, you can go, dude. It's fine. You can go. And then, you know, you left us and went on your journey. So I watched it very closely, and it's like, what's he doing? How's it going? And then my dad is always saying, I want to go on a safari. It's my dream. I've wanted to do it since I was a kid. And he kept looking around trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And I'm like, let's call Erin. And we had a phone call when I sat in my truck.
I think, when you called, I was sitting in my living room and you said, hey, my dad and I are sitting in my pickup. Tell us about Africa. And so that was like the first talk we ever had. And, you know, it has been a crazy journey because when we started giving back TV, my vision was to show hunts as they happened. Not a lot of recreation. Just show the footage as it happens. And there's a lot of people that can't or won't travel to some of these locations. Well, now we can take them along with us. And that was kind of my premise for the show. And then also to show how hunters give back. Hunting is controversial.
Yes.
And, you know, we get attacked. I get messages daily. But if we educate people and show them the positives that hunters do, hunting does around the world, then they can base their opinions on facts and not emotion. So that's kind of where the ball got rolling. But I'll tell you, season 1 of the TV show I thought it was good, but looking back, it was pretty rough. We didn't know what we were doing with video or audio, but we still had this vision and this dream. And so, you know, fast forward here, I started in 2016, 7 years, and now the podcast is coming to fruition, and a big thanks to you.
Yeah. Well, same with your TV show. The podcast might be a little rough at the beginning, but we'll get it better each time.
Well, that's just it. I always tell people, and I had to take some of my own advice, that if you want to start something, you have to jump off a cliff without a parachute. You have to just do it. And I've been dragging my feet, and you had kind of prodded me, and I finally said, I need to take my own advice and do this podcast.
I remember texting you like, hey, dude, we need to talk. I got some ideas. And so you called, and I'm like, I want to do a podcast. And you're like, dude, me too. Let's freaking do this.
I know. It was actually perfect timing because I've been thinking of doing some other projects. The TV show is actually going really well. We have some great sponsors. We have some great followers. We're on the Carbon TV network, which is, you know, that's kind of becoming one of the bigger streaming platforms out there. And so we're lucky to be on that. We're reaching millions of people a year. So I was like, okay, how can we get this brand out there? I think the podcast is genius. I mean, I think it's going to be a really good idea. And I think we have a lot of stories that we can tell people.
Absolutely. So why I wanted to do a podcast and start doing more with you on the hunting and giving back stuff, because watching your journey, seeing the successes that you've done and, you know, even the failures.
Oh, yeah, there's been both.
I too, you know, hit midlife crisis. Like, okay, I'm approaching the latter part of my working career.
Yep.
And I want to do something I truly love. In my current job, I like it, but is it a truly love? Not really. So I really want to go that way. So I figured out I want a 5-year plan to figure out what that is. So let's dive into podcasting. And I'm like, how am I going to get into that? I'm like, well, I wonder if Erin wants to do one with co-host because he's already got a platform out there. He's already got some followers where we can jump into it pretty quickly and get something going. So here I am, and like that all happened in like what 2 weeks when I started thinking about that. Text you, you called, and then what? About a month later, here we are starting to record.
Yeah, this has happened really fast. I mean, and the nice thing is, like you say, I have a little experience with starting and failing.
Yeah,
And so, but if you have the vision, you have the dream, I think that no matter if you fail or not, you're going to keep going. And so that was the neat thing. Like you said, when we first started doing the TV show, I'd be happy if we got 100 viewers.
right.
And, last year we had 3 or 4 million. And so it takes so much time to grow. But it's nice. I think a lot of my either clients from the TV show or from the consulting company have asked about a podcast. A lot of them know we're starting this. And I've
Good.
gotten 2 texts this morning saying, where can I watch your podcast? And I'm like, well, let us record first.
That's right.
Let us edit second.
First.
And so I think there's going to be a lot of people that really want to follow this. And I'm just excited because even driving down here today, I'm thinking of all these stories. And of course, my mind goes to hunting. But firsthand that these trips are way more than hunting.
Way more than hunting. I mean, you build friendships for life, actually, with people you go hunting with.
You do. And then just to see, like we talked about, for example, Africa, people think you take all this money, you shoot all these animals, you go home. Well, technically that's true.
Yes.
But you also get to meet the people, experience the culture, see where the meat goes, see how hunters give back. You get to see that firsthand. And that's, I think, the stories that we're going to share with everybody going forward. And then some funny stories. And I was thinking of stories, all the mistakes I've made over the years that are actually pretty funny to tell.
Absolutely. And that's what stories we want to tell. It was funny when we got on the phone the first time, we're talking about ideas, and then we started texting back and forth and emailing different ideas, and how my ideas are exactly what you're thinking and yours are exactly what I was thinking. So I think we're spot on here on the message we want to talk about.
I do too. And I mean, some of our shows might be more serious than others. Some are going to be lighthearted. Some we're going to recap some of our stories or some of our trips. We'll bring family in. We'll
Yes.
bring other guests in. We have some people already asking to be on the podcast.
That's awesome.
That was really cool for me to hear that. So just with everything that we've done, I think we have a wealth of knowledge that we can share with people, and hopefully they're going to enjoy it.
And you mentioned being lighthearted. If anybody's met either one of us or both of us together, there's inappropriateness that we're bound to happen.
Yeah, we're trying to be on our best behavior, and we'll do our best. But yeah, we're just going to be ourselves. And I found even with the show, no matter what, I'm me, you're you.
Yep.
We're not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. We're just going to be ourselves. But no, we have so many cool stories. But we have some very powerful stories, some lighthearted ones. Now, we were talking about kind of our journey and everything. Tell everybody about your journey.
My journey, well, into hunting since my whole life. Grew up in Montana, born and raised. That's all I've ever known. We went hunting every year. It was only rifle hunting, though. I never got into bow hunting until the past 6-7 years. So my first bow kill was actually in Africa, which is pretty exciting.
I remember that. I was on that trip.
You were. So years in the Navy, away from home, college years, things like that. Not a lot of hunting going on. Moved back home. Life happens, and I got back into hunting again, and I really missed this. It's not the killing of the animals. It's the walking in the hills. It's being part of nature out there. Even like my wife talking about knocking her first arrow this last year with an elk coming in. We didn't get it, but it was still exciting and fun, and that's what drives me back every year.
It's those memories too, and everyone thinks that, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of the non-hunters think that our only goal is to go out and kill. And that's the furthest from the truth. I mean, like you, I was born here in Montana, 4th generation Montanan. Grew up hunting and fishing with my parents. I mean, they were dragging me around when I was 6-year-old snotty-nosed little kid, and then I got into hunting. I did start bow hunting at a very early age, but didn't have any success. And I think I was 27 before I got my first bow kill.
Oh, wow.
And I had been hunting since I was 12, but No, I grew up hunting and fishing with my parents, and then same as you, kind of went to college and started my family and got out of hunting a little bit. And then once I moved back to Montana, really got into it, and it just grew and grew. And then, I mean, I had been thinking about a TV show for years, and the passion just kind of overtook me, and now it's become a career for
Yeah,
me. And
that's
everyone
awesome.
said, be careful because if you make it your job, it's not going to be fun anymore. I haven't found that to be the case. It's more challenging at times trying to get this stuff on camera, but I enjoy documenting that for people. But I still enjoy it.
Like in a coming episode, we're gonna sit and talk about my first safari, and see you're already starting to grin there because what I've learned about Aaron is he enjoys watching these people experience things for the first time, and talking about their stories and being part of the story. So that's a big part of it.
It is a big part of it. And I was telling you that we flew out that year. I think that was in August. We went on
Yes.
that safari and we met in Atlanta to take that
Yep.
long journey to Africa. And I was telling you, I'm so excited to watch you guys because it was your family's first trip to Africa. And so as you guys are looking at the animals, I'm watching your faces because my first safari was, 2007, I believe. And a lot of that stuff, I don't have the newness anymore. So to help people go on these trips, whether it is Africa or Spain or even an antelope hunt, I have people that this is their dream. And so to go and film that, that's pretty powerful for me. And I love that.
I do too. That's why when you said that, and then I started thinking about like, oh, that would be really cool watching these people's reaction in their first time, or just even if it's their 100th elk they shot. Right? It'd be fun just to be on the experience with them because it's just all about camaraderie, about being part of nature, and the part of the hunt that I like is the chase.
Yes, the stock.
Yes,
Yeah.
getting close to these animals, even if you don't shoot them, it's still a successful day to me.
I agree, and it's kind of about the journey. We talk about people's first hunts, and I had a good client of mine from Italy flying this year. He did a mountain lion hunt. Now I've done plenty of mountain lion hunts, and but to see the look on his face that first time he saw that cat up in that tree, that was really cool for me.
Oh yeah, I bet.
That was cool. But like you say, the stock and getting the animals close, and another thing that we're going to talk about are all different kinds of hunts, and the one thing that I've noticed in the hunting world is that hunters fight hunters sometimes more than non-hunters.
Oh yes.
Your rifle guys don't like your archery guys. Your guided guys don't like your do-it-yourselfers. Your high fencers don't like your free range. And one thing we do is we just support all legal hunting.
Yep.
And if you don't want to do it, that's fine.
Your
But
archery guys don't like crossbow hunters.
I know. And it's just so we're going to have stories
Yeah.
of all of that. I've hunted in places that are 20 miles in the back country where you're not going to see a person. I've also hunted on 200-acre high fence properties in Texas. So I've done it all, and I think you've done quite a bit of it too. And you've seen some of the positives that come out of all those types of hunts.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about everything from antelope hunting, elephant hunting, conservation, our families,
Families,
our mistakes.
mistakes,
We're going to talk about it all.
things people learn along the way. Like my daughter had a project in school. We'll talk about that and how she had to pick a controversial subject, and that was trophy hunting.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty powerful when a 17-year-old's trying to convince a class that trophy hunting's good.
I think that's so amazing because you're right. Some of this terminology, whether you hear the term trophy hunting
Right.
or you hear elephant hunting or you hear wolf hunting, those really make people kind of cringe. And it's so, I mean, for your daughter who is 17 years old to write that paper and and tell the class her opinion on it. And it's a very factual opinion because she's seen it firsthand.
Yes.
And to change their outlook, that's the power that I think we have as hunters if we stick together. And that's part of our goal with this podcast. I'm not speaking for you, but I think is to help people understand what we do better.
Absolutely. And we see it on Facebook groups. Someone posts out there like, hey, anybody know any good hunting spots in this hunting area? Right. And everyone blasts them like, go do research, get boots on the ground. Sometimes you just can't do it. You don't have time.
Right. But
As a community, it'd be nice to come together and help each other. Yeah, don't give your honey hole spot, but you can say, we've seen some elk in the area, northwestern corner of the whole hunting district, which then they have to go find them. Don't
Right.
tell them exactly where they're standing. I mean, come on.
well, and you do see it, on all the social media groups, someone asks a question and they do get hammered. I reached out to a gentleman the other day and he did ask a question that was, I thought was common sense. But I reached out to him privately and I said, hey, you're probably going to get attacked here, but just let me know if I can help. He had never hunted before. He had moved to Montana, I think, through the military, and now he wants to get into hunting. He didn't even know what kind of boots to buy, so he doesn't know anything. So I think we just need to kind of help each other and kind of encourage each other. And the more we stick together, the better our tradition and lifestyle is going to be.
Especially with all the antis out there trying to attack the hunting industry. If the hunting community comes together, we'll stand stronger and give them less firepower.
Well, exactly. And that's what they do. I think a lot of this in fighting that we have is caused by them. I think they send people to these groups or, to these conventions or whatever and pit people against each other. So we just have to make sure that we're on the same team going forward. And I think we'll be okay.
I do too. Yeah.
So this year we got some stories. We're going to be telling you guys stories about Africa. We're going to be telling you stories about elk hunting, conservation. You're going to hear a story about how Ozzy, my girlfriend, and I escaped death in Africa.
That's a good story.
By Cape Buffalo. That was pretty terrifying. But yeah, you're going to hear all kind of stories. So we're excited for this journey. Like I say, this is episode 1.
Yes. I'm excited for this journey.
It's surreal to say that, but the journey's here. And so, yeah. And guys, please subscribe, please like, please follow, and reach out if you guys want to hear anything. Let us know, because, we're here to talk about anything. If we're not experts about it, we'll bring somebody on who is. So.
Absolutely. We're going to get an email set up.
Yep.
We're going to get so you guys can send feedback, comments, anything you want to hear about, questions you may have. We're here to help answer those questions.
Yeah.
Next week, I'll be at Safari Club International.
That's right.
Meeting and talking to all sorts of outfitters from all over the world.
Yeah. You get to go. I don't. I'm a little bit jealous. I can't lie, but my schedule didn't allow it with all my travel this year. But yeah, that's going to be a great convention. You're going to see. Of course, you've been there before, so it's almost sensory overload when you go there.
It took me like a day and a half to walk the whole exhibit hall.
Yeah, and that's just walking it.
Yes.
That's not even stopping and seeing the exhibits and talking to the people.
Right.
It does take a full 4 days if you're going to do it. Take good walking shoes.
Yes, we learned that last year. Yes.
Yeah, with all the blisters you get for all those conventions.
And then be careful afterwards, because some of those outfitters like to do tequila shots. Next thing you know, it's 1:30 in the morning, and yeah, it's a good time though.
You're speaking from experience, obviously.
Yes.
I am too. No, those conventions can get fun. They can get pretty rowdy. So
oh yeah, it's a good time.
You need a few days to go through the convention and a few days to recover typically.
Yes, absolutely.
So no, we're excited, guys. So yeah, follow us and don't hesitate to reach out. And episode 1 in the books.
Episode 1.
If any of you want to go on any of these hunts or trips around the world that we talk about on this podcast, True Flight Adventures can help you with every step of the way. Get a hold of us either by calling or emailing, and we can get you on that trip of a lifetime.
Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to hear more of our stories and commentary, or something to sleep to, be sure to follow us on Spotify, Google Podcast, or Apple Podcast. If you enjoy watching us ramble on, then subscribe on YouTube or Carbon TV. Until next time on Giving Back TV Podcast.